Hi guys, and welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. I really do appreciate it so very much. Welcome. My name is Aiden. I am so happy that you are here. Today is another 4 for 4, but this is kind of the most expensive one I've ever done, and it's maybe the most exciting one. It is my Natasha Denona giant palettes, not giant, but you know, full-size palettes. I have 4 of them. I have the Safari palette, I have the Lila palette, I have the Sunset palette, and I have the Tropic palette. These are all palettes that I got on major clearance. Not major clearance, but major sales with extra discounts or extra offers. I did not pay full price for any of these because all of these retail for $129. I got them all for around $70 or so. So almost half price. That was really kind of my goal when I was looking for these, and you know, anytime they go that much on sale, it's really tempting to get if I can. So let me go through them. I'm going to swatch them all. I'm going to tell you my thoughts on them. I'm going to kind of tell you where I would rank them at the end. If you haven't watched a 4 for 4 before, I have an entire playlist that I will have linked. And this is just, I take 4 palettes and I wear them each for 4 days, try to use as many different eyeshadows or face products as I can within those 4 days, and then I report back. We're going to start with the Sunset palette, which I think is kind of the palette that started this off for everyone, and this palette is pretty spectacular. It does have a nice mirror, and this has all of the shade names on it, so you can pull it off like it's perforated, but I wouldn't. The nice thing about this palette is it is a soft palette, so you can, you know, use it as an easel. You can fold it all the way back. It does work very well in that regard, especially I think this was more for professional makeup artists when it started. So there are 15 shades in this palette, and it is pretty lightweight as well. It has some cushion around it, but it feels pretty lightweight. There's a mix of shimmers and mattes in here, and they are true mattes and they are true shimmers. There's not any satins, there's not any glitters, which I really appreciate with her formulas. All right, so that is what they all look like swatched. As you can see, there's a lot of beautiful shades in here, and forgive my white arm, it messes with the white balance because I'm just a little too pale. So if you're looking at them together, that kind of gives you an idea, starting with this shade here and then going row by row. There's beautiful shades in here. I really do like this palette. I feel like it works really well. I really like the shades. For the most part, I wish there was a few maybe lighter browns in here in the mattes, just because I feel like these are all going to be really bold eye looks for me. And as you can tell, like I'm more into kind of a subtle eye look. So these two were a little similar for me. But I do like I like this color. I think it's a beautiful color. I love the shimmers. That my standout to me is the shimmers. This shimmer is beautiful. These two here, that one I've worn quite a bit. This one, not so much. Like the slightly darker shimmers, I get a little intimidated with, but I think this is a beautiful palette. I know these are harder to find now because they seem to be on their way out, but if you find them on sale, because Natasha Denona brings back things every once in a while, I would say that this one is a good one if you can find a sale on it. I would recommend it. The next palette that I have is the Natasha Denona Safari palette, and I don't really know what this is supposed to say. Oh, I think it says all matte. If you look at it, it's kind of confusing. Anyway, this is the Safari palette. It is an all matte palette. So this is the newer packaging. So it's a hard case, hard plastic. It has a full-size mirror down there, and then all of the shades. This is not one that will fold back, so I don't want to blind you or show you everything in this room, but this is what it looks like. It's kind of a cool toned palette when you look at it. There are some pops of color, but they are more muted and not as bright as the last palette. Before I swatch this one, I just wanted to point out there's a few shades in here that I haven't used at all that I can tell. I haven't dipped a brush in or anything. And that is this dark brown, the Shea, the Stone, and Thorn. It looks like none of those I have touched at all. The rest of them have brush marks in, and I tried to use as many shades as I could, but 15 shades in 4 days is quite a few for me. I don't use that many. Like today I have 3 shades on. Okay, so this is what they look like all swatched. You can see there's some very light ones up here that don't want to show up too well, all the way down to here. So there is a wide variety of shades in here. They are all pretty muted tones though. I feel like they're not bright colors by any means, which I do tend to gravitate towards more. I like a pop of color somewhere or something shimmery. So I struggled with this palette. I really did struggle because I feel like, one, there's a lot of colors in here that I don't gravitate towards a lot or feel super good in, and then there's also no shimmers whatsoever, and I love shimmer. Like that's what I live for. So I did struggle with this. If you like mattes, this is a great palette for those mattes. They work really well, they blended out really well, they looked all right. I just didn't love the looks that I came up with. I mean, there's this color I really liked and this color I really liked because they're more of the pinky purpley tones that I tend to gravitate towards, and these two were nice here, but some of these like blues and grays and the browns were not my favorite. And this kind of, it's tamarind. It just kind of was a sickly color on me, just a little bit. All right, let's look at the other hard-shelled palette. That is the Tropic palette. This one has not gotten a lot of good reviews from some people. I love this palette. I'm just going to tell you that before I even show it to you. This is my first Natasha Denona palette that I had, and I have had so much fun with this over the years. I just really like it. So there are a few shimmers in here, and then the rest are mattes. There are several of these shades that showed up in the there's the mini Tropic palette, which is just this row here, and then there was the BoxyCharm palette from a few months ago, and 4 of the colors are in here. I think, if I can remember, Vintage Taupe was one of the shades, the Mint was one of the shades, Limoncello was one of the shades, maybe it was only 3, and then there was one from the Love palette. The pink was from the Love palette, and then there was one from Metropolis. But I already owned this palette, so I was not tempted to resub to BoxyCharm in April because I already had 3 of the I have 4 because I have the mini Love palette, or the regular Love palette as well. So if the blue looks a little funny, it's because I just smudged it on the chair I'm sitting on, and then I tried to take it off of the chair I'm sitting on. Gotten 2 things of eyeshadow. Whoops. So this one I feel is the most versatile of all of the palettes because you do have like a lot of really nice neutrals in here that are going to be more subtle, but they can be built up. And then you have just some amazing shimmers and some crazy colors in there. So you can do, a very peacock type look. You can do something more subtle. You can do something every day. You can do every day with a pop of color. This mint is absolutely gorgeous. I haven't used the blues as much. They do, I struggle with them a little bit just because I'm not a makeup artist by any means. I need to use the violet more. I haven't used that very much at all, I was realizing. But like these top 2 rows, I use a lot. I've used a lot over the years, and they're really nice. I really like this palette. Yeah, so that is the Tropic palette. I think this is a really good one, and I would totally recommend this one. All right, the last palette is the Lila palette. This is such a beautiful palette. It's like the Sunset in that it is the softer material. It has the little thing over it that tells you all of the names, and then this is what the shades look like. So you do have a lot of darker tones. There's not a lot of light in this. You have like 2 pops of semi-light, and then this brown, which if you compare it to the other palettes, does not look light, but compared to the shades in this, it does look light. There are a lot of shimmers in here. There are more shimmers than mattes, which is kind of nice. So you have 4 mattes and then 11 shimmers. So there's a lot of shimmer in this one. So that is what they look like all swatched. This is a beautiful palette. The shimmers, if you go in a little too heavy, they will get a little chunky. I think you can see that, especially in here. I blew off a couple of them, but there are a few chunks that I went in because I maybe went a little too hard on a couple of them because I forget how soft they are. They're beautiful. This is a beautiful palette. I really do enjoy the colors in here. This one I need to wear more because that's just absolutely stunning. I really like this color, which is right down here. You have like the blue or the green brown type shade. I tend to wear the lighter shimmers more just because I'm kind of a scaredy cat, but this is one that even though it's a little intimidating to wear, I still like every time I wear it, I think, oh my gosh, how beautiful are these shadows? And I really like it, even if they are a little out of my comfort zone to wear, but I think they are just beautiful. Okay, now we've come to what I recommend, what I think you should look for if you can ever find these or if you ever come across them on a deal. One, I would never pay full price for a Natasha Denona palette because they're ridiculously expensive, and while they're really nice, probably one of my favorite formulas, I don't think they are worth $129. Definitely not. They need to come back down to the price of most palettes before I will even consider purchasing them. So there's that. And I'm going to tell you my ranking and whether I think they're worth it or not. So in last place and fourth place is going to be the Natasha Denona All Mattes Safari palette. I don't feel this is worth it for me. If you love these shades and you like all matte looks, or you want to like bring in other palettes or singles or shimmer shades, which I don't usually do, this would be a good palette for that. But other than that, I don't think it's worth it because you don't get any of her shimmers. And I feel like while her mattes are nice, her shimmers are where it's at. So this one, I'm actually thinking about decluttering and trying to sell because I've only used it like 4 or 5 times. I'm thinking about decluttering this one. Let me know your thoughts down below. In third place, I am putting Lila just because it is such a darker palette. I really love the shades in here, but it is not one that I reach for quite as much as the other two, and I feel like a little intimidated every time I go in to use it. I do like it. I think if you like darker shades or you really want a lot of purples, this would be a good palette to get. I would say, you know, don't not buy it if you're interested in it, but do think about how dark the shades are as a whole, because that was one thing that was a little that always gets me every time I'm reaching for it. I'm like, what am I going to do with this look? And I feel like I need to bring in another palette to lighten up the look a little bit for me, but that's my preferences. In second place, I'm going to put the Sunset palette. I really do like this palette. I think this is a really pretty palette. I really like warm tones though, so I wear a lot of warm tone shadows. I wear a lot of pinks and reds, and even like my coworkers when I was working at American Girl will comment like, man, you like, some people look kind of sick when they wear a lot of reds, but you don't, thank goodness. But I was like, that's a interesting compliment. Anyway, I really like this palette. I like the mattes in here. There's slightly more mattes in here than in the Lila. Like I said, the Lila has the fewest amount of mattes, but I really like the tones. I feel like there is some overlap, like these two are kind of similar in shade, but that's okay. I like this one. I would recommend it if you come across it. I think this would be, if you like warm tones, if you like cool tones, then you probably wouldn't like this palette, but I really like this palette, and I see myself using it for many years to come. All right, in first place is the one that has gotten the worst reviews, which is kind of funny. This is the Tropic palette. I love the top 2 rows, which are your bottom 2 rows. I love them. They're ones that I reach into. I feel like I don't have to think a lot. I can do a really nice, pretty look. And then I have some beautiful shimmer options. Like, I like both of these shimmers. I like this shimmer. I will just, you know, I could do like this type of an eye look that's very simple but still pretty with this palette very easily. There's some darker shades so you can darken up. If you are a darker skin tone, these might not be as good. I will admit that, but I think, I don't know, like these are the only two that I get a little nervous about just because I'm not as colorful and I feel a little more uncomfortable in super bright shades like that, but this is definitely my first choice. I would say if you can find this on sale, get it. I love it so much. It is one of my favorite palettes of my entire collection. This is one I have used so much over the years. So that's it. That was my Natasha Denona palettes. Have you tried any palettes from her? What are your thoughts on her formula? What palettes do you have, or which ones are on your radar, or like ones that you were interested in? Let me know down below. I will say my next declutters coming up are going to be some crazy ones. I have face palettes next, and then I have a couple cheek trios. I have 2 videos of those that I am planning to do, and then some 4for4s that are palettes that are on my chopping block. So if you have not been following me on Instagram, I'll have it's linked down below, but I have been putting up different palettes and I've decluttered some that way, and then some I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a 4for4 with these and see how they work. So I have one of those coming up. That will be the next eye palettes, and then I might mix it up before I do another round of those, because I have a couple rounds of those that I need to do. Let me know how you are doing. Let me know if you like this series or if there's some way that you want me to mix it up a little bit. I'm just trying to find a way to go through my palettes and, you know, declutter things and see what I really like and make sure I'm using everything. But if there's a better way that you think I can do that, let me know down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I can't wait to talk to you next time. Bye.